He said, let's take a step back. After 3 years, I stepped all the way back to zero. I didn't think a 3-year relationship could end in a single sentence. But it did. We need to take a step back. I'm not ready for something this serious. She said it calmly, too calmly, like she had rehearsed it in her head 100 times. We were sitting in my car outside her apartment in Austin, Texas. Same parking lot where I'd picked her up for our first date. Same place where she once cried because she thought I was too good to be real. Funny how things circle back. 3 years together. 3 years of birthdays, road trips, late-night food runs, meeting families, planning a future. 3 years of us. And suddenly she wanted a step back. I remember staring at the steering wheel, not at her. Because I already knew that if I looked into her eyes, I'd start negotiating. Begging. Trying to fix something I didn't even understand. So I asked one question. What does step back mean? Silence. Then she said it. I don't know. Just less pressure. Less commitment. I feel overwhelmed. Overwhelmed. By me. By us. By the future we had built together. I nodded slowly. My brain was still catching up to my heart, which had already started breaking. Okay. I said. Just okay. No yelling. No drama. No emotional speech. Just acceptance. And that confused her more than anything else. She looked at me like she expected resistance. Like she was ready for an argument. But I didn't give her one. Because in that moment, something inside me shifted. If someone says they're not ready for you after 3 years, they're not confused. They're already halfway out the door. I drove her home in silence. She grabbed her bag, paused, then leaned over and kissed my cheek like this was just another normal night. Text me when you get home, she said. Like we were still us. I watched her walk into her apartment building. And for the first time in 3 years, I didn't wait for the I'm inside text. I drove home, and somewhere on that drive, I made a decision. She asked for a step back. I was going to give her several. All the way back, to zero. No good morning texts. No check-ins. No weekend plans. No emotional availability on demand. No boyfriend privileges. Nothing. If she didn't want something serious, then she wasn't going to get the benefits of someone who was serious. That night, I didn't text her. Not out of anger, out of clarity. And the next morning, my phone was silent. No message from her either. That hurt more than I expected. Because a part of me thought she'd wake up and realize what she'd risked losing. But she didn't. Day 1 turned into day 3. Day 3 turned into a week. Then 2 weeks. And in those 2 weeks, something strange happened. I started remembering who I was before her. I went to the gym again. Met friends I hadn't seen in months. Focused on work. Started sleeping better. Started thinking clearer. Started feeling lighter. It scared me, because I realized something I didn't want to admit. I had been carrying the emotional weight of our relationship alone for a long time. Checking in, planning dates, fixing arguments, reassuring her constantly, holding us together, and now, silence, and peace. Then, on day 16, my phone rang. Her name flashed on the screen. For a moment, I just stared at it. My chest tightened. My brain started racing. Should I pick up? Should I ignore it? Should I text instead? It stopped ringing. Then came a voicemail notification. I didn't listen to it right away. I waited. 10 minutes. Then 20. Then an hour. Finally, I pressed play. Her voice sounded shaky. Hey, I know things have been weird. I didn't mean for us to stop talking like this. I just needed space. Not whatever this is. Call me back. Okay. I sat there, phone in my hand, staring at the wall. She didn't mean for us to stop talking. She didn't mean this distance. She didn't mean this silence. But she asked for a step back. And I gave her exactly what she asked for. Just more honestly than she expected. I didn't call back that night. Not because I was punishing her. But because for the first time in 3 years, I was thinking about what I wanted. Not what she needed. Not what would keep us together. Not what would avoid conflict. Just me. And the truth, I didn't know if I wanted to go back. Because stepping back had shown me something dangerous. I was okay without her. And once you realize that, everything changes. I didn't call her back the next day either. Not because I was trying to play games. But because I finally understood something I had ignored for a long time. In our relationship, every time she felt unsure, I ran toward her. Every time she pulled away, I held tighter. Every time she needed space, I shrank myself to make her comfortable. And now that I wasn't doing that anymore, the silence felt different. It wasn't empty, it was peaceful. That didn't mean I didn't miss her. I missed her laugh. I missed how she would steal fries off my plate and pretend she didn't want any. I missed the random, I love you, texts in the middle of the day. But I didn't miss the uncertainty. I didn't miss constantly wondering if I was too much, or not enough. On day 17, she texted, "Are you okay?" I stared at the message for a long time. 3 years together, hundreds of late-night conversations. And now we were down to 2 words. Are you okay? I typed back, yeah, I'm good. Hope you're doing okay too. It was polite, neutral, respectful, and completely different from the version of me she knew. Usually I would have added, I miss you. Can we talk? Did I do something wrong? But I didn't. Her reply came fast. That's it. I almost laughed. 3 years of emotional availability, and now my calmness was confusing her. What do you mean? I asked. I don't know. You just feel distant. Distant. The word sat heavy on my chest. Because for years, I had been the one chasing closeness. Now, for the first time, I wasn't. And she noticed. I'm just giving you space, I replied. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then her message came. I didn't mean like this. There it was. The contradiction. She wanted space, just not enough to feel my absence. She wanted less pressure, but still wanted my presence. She wanted to step back, without risking losing me, and that's when it hit me. For the last 3 years, I had been her safety net. No matter how unsure she felt, I was always there. Stable, consistent, reliable, unmoving. And now that the net wasn't under her anymore, she felt the drop. That night, she called again. This time, I picked up. Hey, I said. Her voice came through softer than I expected. Hey, a pause followed, then another. We used to fill silence so easily. Now it felt unfamiliar. I miss you, she finally said. The words landed, but they didn't hit the same. Because I realized something important. Missing someone and choosing someone are 2 different things. I get that, I replied calmly. That wasn't the response she expected. I thought you'd say you miss me too, she said quietly. I leaned back in my chair, looking at the ceiling. I do, but that doesn't change what you said. Silence. Then she exhaled slowly. I didn't mean break up. You said you weren't ready for something serious, I answered. After 3 years, that sounds like a breakup to me. I just felt overwhelmed, she said. Everything felt like it was moving toward marriage, and I panicked. Marriage. We had talked about it. Not seriously planning a date, but in that, someday, way. Future apartments, cities we'd live in, kids' names joked about during long drives. It wasn't pressure, it was direction. I wasn't proposing, I said gently. We were just growing. I know, she whispered. And that scared me. There it was again. Fear, not doubt about me. Fear of commitment, fear of permanence, fear of choosing something real. And for the first time, I didn't rush to comfort her. I just listened, because her fear was hers to deal with, not mine to fix. I thought taking a step back would help me breathe, she continued. But when you actually stepped back, it felt like I was losing you. I closed my eyes, because I was, not out of revenge, not out of pride, but because something inside me had finally woken up. You were, I said quietly. The line went silent. Then she spoke, voice shaking slightly. So, what now? That question used to terrify me. What now meant I had to come up with a solution. A way to save us. A way to glue everything back together. But this time, I didn't have an answer ready. I don't know, I said honestly. More silence. Then she asked the question I had been waiting for. Are we breaking up? I thought about it. About the last 3 years. About the love, the fights, the growth, the exhaustion, the loyalty, the moments I felt like I was holding us together alone. And the last 2 weeks of peace. I think. I started slowly. You already broke up with me when you said you weren't ready. Her breathing hitched. That's not what I meant. I know, I replied. But that's what it did. Because love doesn't disappear in one conversation. But security does. Trust does. The feeling of being chosen does. And once those cracks appear, you can't pretend they're not there. I thought you'd fight for us, she whispered. The words stung more than anything else she'd said. Because I had, for 3 years, every argument, every misunderstanding, every moment she doubted us. I fought, I stayed, I reassured, I held on, and now that I wasn't fighting anymore, she noticed. I did fight for us, I said softly. For a long time. Another pause. Then I heard it. She was crying, not loudly, not dramatically, just quiet, broken breathing on the other end of the call. I didn't think you'd actually walk away, she admitted. And there it was, the truth neither of us had said yet. She thought I'd always stay. No matter what she said, no matter how unsure she felt, no matter how far she pulled away, I would always be there. But now, I wasn't. I didn't walk away, I said. I just stopped holding on alone. Her crying got heavier. I don't want to lose you. I swallowed, because that sentence used to be everything I wanted to hear. But now I needed something else. Then why did you risk it? I asked gently. She didn't answer. Because there wasn't one. Fear doesn't have logic, and love can't survive on uncertainty forever. We stayed on the phone for a long time after that. Not arguing, not fixing, just sitting in the truth of where we were. 2 people who loved each other, but weren't standing in the same place anymore. And for the first time, I didn't try to close the distance. After that call, nothing felt the same. Not in a dramatic, explosive way, but in a quiet, irreversible shift. Like a glass that had cracked but hadn't shattered yet. You could still hold it, still use it, but you knew it would never be whole again. For the next few days, we texted. Light conversations, safe topics, work, food, random memes. It almost felt normal, almost, but something was missing. The emotional gravity, the warmth, the natural pull toward each other. Every message felt careful, measured, like we were both trying not to trigger the reality we were avoiding. Then one night, she asked, "Can we meet?" My heart reacted before my brain did. Of course I wanted to see her. 3 years of habit doesn't disappear in 2 weeks. But I also knew meeting her would change things again. It would either pull us back together, or push us apart for good. Yeah, I replied. When? Tomorrow. Dinner. I hesitated, then agreed. We picked a neutral place. Not our usual taco spot. Not the coffee shop where we had our first date. Somewhere in between. Safe, distant, unfamiliar. The next evening, I arrived first. Sat at a table by the window. Watched people walk past like nothing in the world was changing. Then she walked in, and for a second, everything hit me at once. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was nervous. The way her eyes scanned the room until they landed on me. The way she smiled. Small, uncertain, but real. 3 years, compressed into one moment. She looked the same, but different, quieter, more fragile, like she had finally felt the absence she asked for. "Hey," she said, sitting down. "Hey." We both reached for the menu at the same time. Both pulled back awkwardly, then laughed. It was strange how muscle memory stayed even when emotional certainty didn't. We ordered food, made small talk, work, friends, family, safe territory, but eventually, the silence returned. And this time, neither of us avoided it. She looked at me carefully. "You seem different." I nodded. "I am." "How?" I thought about that, because I wasn't trying to change. It just happened. "I'm not anxious anymore," I said. "Not about us." Her expression shifted. That wasn't the answer she expected. "Is that a good thing?" she asked. "It's a clear thing," I replied. She looked down at the table, then back at me. "I've been miserable these past weeks," she admitted. "I thought space would make me feel better. Instead, I just felt alone." I didn't rush to respond, because loneliness and clarity often arrive together. "I missed you constantly," she continued. "I kept picking up my phone to text you, then stopping because I thought you needed space too." I raised an eyebrow slightly. "You told me you needed it." "I didn't mean from you," she said quickly. "I meant from the pressure. From expectations. From the future feeling so locked in. And I was part of that pressure," I said calmly. She hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, honesty. Finally. Painful, but real. I appreciated it more than comfort." "I started therapy," she said suddenly. That caught me off guard. "For anxiety," she added. "Commitment stuff. Fear of making the wrong choices. Fear of being stuck." Stuck. That word hit harder than she realized. Because loving me felt like being trapped to her, even if she didn't mean it that way. "That's good," I said. "I'm glad you're working on it." She studied my face. "You're not angry. No, you're not even emotional." I gave a small smile. I already went through that part. And it was true. The nights after she asked for space, I barely slept. I replayed every conversation, every fight, every moment I might have pushed too hard or loved too much. I felt rejection, confusion, loss, but I processed it alone. Without calling her. Without asking for reassurance, without begging, and now, what remained was acceptance. That scared her, because she expected the version of me who needed her, not the version who could stand on his own. "You feel far away," she whispered. "I am a little," I admitted. Her eyes filled with tears. And that's when she said it. "I think I made a mistake." The words hung between us. Heavy, dangerous, powerful, because 3 weeks ago, I would have grabbed onto them immediately. Used them as proof that we were okay. That we'd survive this. But now, I didn't move. "What kind of mistake?" I asked. She swallowed, asking for space, pulling away, acting like I wasn't sure about us when I actually was. "I just got scared." "Scared of what?" I asked. "Losing my freedom, making the wrong life choice. Waking up at 30 and realizing I settled too early." There it was. The fear of missing out. The fear of commitment. The fear that love equals limitation. And I couldn't blame her for feeling that. But I also couldn't carry it for her. "So what changed?" I asked. She looked at me like the answer was obvious. "You pulled away. Not therapy. Not self-reflection. Not clarity. My absence. When you stopped texting. Stopped calling. Stopped trying," she continued, voice shaking. "I realized I could actually lose you. And that scared me more than commitment ever did." I leaned back in my chair, processing, because I needed to be honest with myself too. Fear of losing someone can feel like love, but it's not always the same thing. "And now?" I asked quietly. She reached across the table, placed her hand near mine. Not touching, just close. "I don't want to lose us," she said. I want to fix this. Fix. The word sounded hopeful, but also heavy, because fixing meant going back. And going back meant forgetting the cracks. Pretending the last few weeks didn't change me. Didn't wake me up. Didn't show me I could live without her. I looked at her hand. Then at her eyes. And for the first time in years, I didn't know if love was enough. Not because I stopped loving her, but because I finally loved myself too. And that changed the balance. I don't know if we can go back to how things were, I said honestly. Her face fell. I'm not asking for that, she said quickly. I just want another chance. A real one, where I don't run away when things get serious. I believed she meant it. But belief and readiness aren't the same. Love and stability aren't the same. And history doesn't disappear because we want it to. What happens the next time you feel scared? I asked. I won't run, she said. You don't know that, she flinched. Because it was true. Fear doesn't disappear overnight. Patterns don't break in one realization. And relationships can't survive repeated uncertainty. I'll work on it, she whispered. I know you will, I said. But I can't go back to being the one who holds everything together while you figure it out. Tears slid down her face. I'm not asking you to. Then what are you asking? She finally reached forward and grabbed my hand. I'm asking you not to give up on us. My chest tightened. Because I hadn't. Not fully. But I wasn't holding on blindly anymore either. And there's a huge difference between loving someone and choosing to stay. The food arrived, interrupting the moment. Neither of us touched it. Because we both knew this conversation was the real reason we were there. The real decision. The real crossroads. 3 years together. And now we were sitting across from each other like strangers trying to decide if we should start over. Or walk away for good. We barely touched the food. It just sat there between us, getting cold, like the version of us that used to exist. Neither of us wanted to break the moment by pretending things were normal. Because they weren't. Not anymore. I need to be honest about something, she said quietly. Her fingers were still wrapped around mine, but her grip tightened slightly. That's when I knew. Whatever she was about to say, it mattered. Okay, I replied. She hesitated, looked down, then back up. I didn't just panic because of commitment. My stomach dropped. There was more. I started feeling disconnected months ago, she continued. Not from you as a person, but from us as a couple. The words hurt more than I expected. Because I hadn't seen it coming. We weren't fighting, she added quickly. Nothing was wrong. That was the problem. Everything was stable, predictable, safe. Again, that word. It used to be something I was proud of. Now it sounded like a flaw. I started questioning if this was it, she said. If this was the person I'd be with forever. And instead of talking to you about it, I just let it grow in my head. I nodded slowly, encouraging her to continue, even though every sentence felt like a blade. There's something else, she said. Silence. My chest tightened. What? I asked. She swallowed. I didn't cheat. My heart skipped. I never touched anyone. Never went on a date. Nothing like that, she said quickly. But, there was a but coming. I did start talking to someone. There it was. The moment everything tilted, my fingers slowly pulled away from hers. Not dramatically, not angrily, just instinct. What do you mean talking? I asked, voice calm. A guy at work, she said. New hire. We were put on the same project. I stayed quiet, let her talk, because if I interrupted, I'd react instead of understand. At first it was just work stuff. Then jokes. Then long conversations. He's easy to talk to. Of course he was. New people always are. No history. No expectations. No emotional weight. He didn't know I was struggling in our relationship, she continued. But talking to him made me realize how different things felt compared to us. Different. Not better, but different. And that scared me, she added quickly. Because I started wondering why I felt lighter talking to him than I had been feeling with you. That sentence hit deeper than anything else. Not because of jealousy, but because it revealed something real. She had emotionally stepped out long before she asked for space. Did you like him? I asked. She didn't answer immediately, which was answer enough. I don't know, she admitted. Maybe, a little. It wasn't intentional. I didn't plan it. Emotional connections rarely are. They grow in the gaps where communication used to live. I felt guilty, she said, tears forming. That's part of why I pulled away. I didn't understand what I was feeling, and instead of facing it, I tried to create distance. Now the step back made more sense. It wasn't just fear of commitment. It was confusion, attraction, curiosity, and guilt. Are you still talking to him? I asked. No, she said immediately. Not like that. When everything happened with us, I stopped. I realized I was crossing a line emotionally, and I hated that. I watched her carefully, trying to read the truth. Not just her words, but her intent. I never wanted anyone else, she said. I just got lost in my own head. And he was new, easy, no pressure, and I was familiar, deep, real, which is heavier, more demanding, more permanent. I needed to tell you, she whispered. Because if we're going to fix anything, I can't hide this. Honesty. Late, but real. I leaned back in my chair, processing everything, because this changed things, not in a dramatic, betrayal way, but in a subtle, dangerous way. Emotional distance, outside connection, withdrawal, then asking for space. The timeline lined up too well, and suddenly, I understood why stepping back had felt so natural to me. She had already taken her first steps away months ago. You should have told me earlier, I said quietly. I know, she said, crying now. I was scared. I thought if I said it out loud, it would mean I was a terrible person. No, I replied, it would have meant you were human. We all get confused. We all feel drawn to new energy sometimes. But what matters is what you do with it. And she chose distance instead of communication. That was the real damage. Did he like you? I asked. She nodded slowly. He never said it directly. But, yeah, I could tell. Of course he did. She's kind, funny, emotionally open. Anyone spending time with her would feel it. Did you ever think about leaving me for him? I asked. She shook her head immediately. No, never. That's the thing. I didn't want him. I wanted to feel the way I used to feel with you. But instead of working on us, I escaped into something easy. That sentence stuck, because it wasn't about another man. It was about emotional avoidance. About not confronting problems until they become distance. About letting comfort turn into complacency. And I had played a part too. I got comfortable, stable, predictable, reliable. I stopped challenging us to grow. Stopped noticing the subtle shifts. Stopped asking deeper questions. We didn't break overnight. We drifted, slowly, quietly, until she felt alone, while still sitting next to me. I'm not telling you this to hurt you, she said. I'm telling you because I want us to start over honestly. No hiding, no pretending. Start over. The words felt heavier now. Because starting over means acknowledging the damage first. And we were finally doing that. I appreciate you telling me, I said. And I meant it. Because secrets rot relationships from the inside. Truth hurts, but it gives you something real to work with. I chose you, she whispered. Even when I was confused. Even when I was scared. I still chose you. I looked at her, really looked, at the girl I loved for 3 years. The girl who laughed too loud at bad jokes. The girl who cried during dog videos. The girl who held my hand when my grandfather died. The girl who was flawed, scared, human, just like me. But choosing someone once, and choosing them consistently, are two different battles. And now I need to know, she said, voice trembling. Are you still choosing me? The question sat between us. Heavy, final, because this wasn't about nostalgia anymore. Not about history, not about comfort. This was about the present. About whether I wanted to rebuild something that had cracked. About whether love was still stronger than the doubt that had entered the room. I didn't answer right away. Because for the first time in our relationship, I wasn't afraid of losing her. And that meant my answer had to be real. Not emotional, not reactive, not based on fear, based on truth. And the truth was, I didn't know yet. I didn't answer her question right away. Not because I didn't care. But because for the first time in 3 years, I understood how important my answer actually was. Are you still choosing me? That wasn't a romantic question. That was a life question. And I wasn't going to respond out of habit. I looked at her across the table, really looked. The familiar softness in her eyes. The fear she was trying to hide. The guilt, the hope, the love, it was all there. But so was something else. Uncertainty. And uncertainty had already almost broken us once. I don't know yet, I said quietly. The words landed like a stone between us. She didn't cry this time. She didn't panic. She just nodded slowly, like she expected it. That's fair, she whispered. And for the first time that night, I saw something different in her. Not desperation, acceptance. The kind that comes when you realize you can't control the outcome anymore. I don't want to rush back into something just because we're scared of losing each other, I continued. That's how people end up repeating the same mistakes. She listened carefully. No interruptions, no defenses, just listening. I still love you, I added. That didn't disappear, but love alone isn't what broke us. It was the fear, the silence, the distance we didn't talk about. She nodded again. I know, and if we try again, I said, it can't be the old version of us. That one had cracks we ignored. So what does the new version look like? She asked. That was the question, and I didn't have a perfect answer. But I had honesty. It looks like two people choosing each other without pressure, I said. Not because of time invested. Not because of habit. Not because we're scared to start over. Then why? She asked softly. Because we actually want to. The restaurant around us faded into background noise. People laughed. Plates clinked. Music played. And we were sitting in the middle of it, having the most real conversation we'd ever had. No pretending. No roles. Just two humans deciding what to do with something that used to be certain. I want that, she said. I know you do, I replied. But wanting it tonight isn't the same as being ready for it long term. She inhaled slowly. You're right. That surprised me. In the past, she would have tried to convince me. Push for reassurance. Look for guarantees. Now she was just present. I don't expect you to decide today, she continued. I just needed you to know the truth. About everything. I appreciated that more than she realized. Because truth creates space. Space to think. Space to choose. Space to breathe. And we both needed that. We finally ate a few bites of food, mostly out of obligation. Neither of us was hungry. The emotional weight was enough. When the check came, I instinctively reached for it. So did she. We paused. Then she smiled slightly. Split it, she asked. It was such a small moment. But it meant something. We weren't slipping back into old roles. We weren't pretending everything was the same. We were two individuals again. Choosing how to show up. Yeah, I said. Split it. We walked out together. The Texas night air was cool. Cars passing. City lights reflecting on windows. The kind of night we used to drive around aimlessly, talking about everything and nothing. We stood by our cars. Neither of us moving. Neither of us ready to say goodbye. So, what happens now? She asked. I thought about it. About us. About everything we'd said. About everything we hadn't. We don't force anything, I said. We don't pretend we're back together. We don't pretend we're strangers either. She tilted her head slightly. Then what are we? I gave a small shrug. Two people who care about each other, figuring it out. She exhaled slowly. I can live with that. A long silence followed. Comfortable, sad, hopeful, all at once. Then she stepped forward and hugged me. Not the tight, possessive hug from before. Not the distant, polite one either. Just real, warm, familiar, temporary. I hugged her back, and for a moment, my body remembered everything my mind was still sorting through. 3 years of comfort in one embrace. Then she pulled away, eyes slightly red, but calm. Thank you for meeting me, she said. Thank you for being honest, I replied. She nodded, got into her car, and drove away. I watched her tail lights disappear into traffic. And I felt something strange. Not heartbreak, not relief, something in between, like standing at a crossroads without a map. The next few days were quiet again. But different from before. We texted occasionally, nothing intense, no late-night emotional conversations. Just normal human interaction. How was your day? Work was insane. Did you eat? Yeah, you. It felt simple, light, unforced, and that scared me in a different way. Because I realized something. For the first time, we weren't operating as a couple. We were operating as two people who liked each other. And weirdly, it felt healthier. Then something unexpected happened. On a random Thursday afternoon, my phone buzzed. A name I hadn't seen in years popped up. Maya, my ex from college. I frowned. We hadn't talked in, 4 years? Her message was simple. Hey, I know this is random, but I'm in Austin for work this week. Thought of you. How have you been? Timing. Always strange. I stared at the message longer than I should have. Because under normal circumstances, I would have ignored it. Out of respect for my relationship. Out of loyalty. Out of clarity. But now, I wasn't technically in a relationship. And that realization felt unfamiliar. Not exciting. Not tempting. Just new. I didn't reply immediately. Instead, I sat with the feeling. Because this is exactly the kind of situation that had quietly entered our relationship months ago. New person, new energy, new conversation, and I finally understood how easy it was to slip into it. Not out of betrayal, but curiosity, loneliness, human nature. I locked my phone, took a deep breath, and asked myself one question. Who do I want to be right now? Because whatever choice I made next would define everything moving forward. I didn't reply to Maya right away. I just sat there, phone in my hand, staring at the message like it had weight. Because it did, not because I wanted anything with her, but because of what it represented. Opportunity, attention, a clean slate, the kind of emotional, easy, I had just heard my girlfriend describe. No history, no expectations, no pressure, just a familiar face from the past reaching into the present. And for the first time, I understood exactly how subtle emotional drift begins. Not with betrayal, with curiosity. I put the phone down and went back to work. But the message stayed in the back of my mind all day. By evening, I finally responded. Hey, yeah, that is random. I'm doing all right. Hope work's treating you well. Neutral, friendly, nothing more. Her reply came fast. Busy as always. I leave Sunday. We should catch up. Coffee or something. And there it was. An invitation. Simple, harmless on the surface, loaded underneath. I leaned back in my chair. Because now I had a real choice in front of me. Not theoretical, not emotional, practical. Say yes, and step into something new. Say no, and close a door before even looking inside. And suddenly, I thought about her. Not Maya, my girlfriend, or whatever we were now. The girl I spent 3 years with. The girl who admitted she got emotionally pulled by someone at work. The girl who said she still chose me. And I realized something uncomfortable. This was the exact test she failed months ago. Not because she was a bad person, but because she didn't recognize the slope she was standing on. Now I did. I wasn't angry. I wasn't tempted. I was aware. And awareness changes everything. I typed back, "Coffee sounds fine. Saturday afternoon." Her response came with a smiley face. Perfect. I put the phone down and sat there for a long time. Not guilty, not excited, just thoughtful, because this wasn't about Maya. This was about me, about who I was becoming outside of my relationship, about whether I still defined myself through loyalty to someone who wasn't fully sure about me, or if I was allowed to exist independently again. That night, I didn't tell her, not intentionally hiding it, it just didn't come up, and that in itself felt strange. For 3 years, she knew everything, every plan, every conversation, every person I met. Now, my life had corners she wasn't standing in, and that distance was real. Friday passed quietly. Saturday came. I showed up at the coffee shop 10 minutes early. Old habit. Maya walked in right on time. Same confident walk, same easy smile, same energy I remembered from college. She hugged me casually. "Wow," she said, sitting down. "You look exactly the same. Just older in a good way." I laughed. "Yeah, that tends to happen." We started talking. Work, life, old college memories. Nothing emotional, nothing deep, just light, easy, comfortable, and I felt it immediately. The lack of weight, no expectations, no history of arguments, no pressure of a shared future. Just two people catching up. I understood the appeal instantly. This is what my girlfriend must have felt months ago. Not attraction necessarily, but relief. Relief from emotional responsibility. Relief from being needed. Relief from being known too deeply. "Are you seeing anyone?" Maya asked casually. There it was. I hesitated, not because I was hiding, but because the answer wasn't simple. "It's complicated right now," I said honestly. She nodded. "Yeah, that usually means something important." I smiled slightly. "Yeah, it does." She didn't push further, which I respected. We kept talking. An hour passed. Then 2. Time moved easily, effortlessly, and for the first time in weeks, I wasn't thinking about my relationship. Not avoiding it, just not inside it. That realization hit me harder than anything else, because it meant my world wasn't centered around us anymore. I had space again, identity again, breathing room, and it felt good, dangerously good. When we finally stood up to leave, Maya smiled. "This was nice," she said. "We should do it again before I head back." I paused, and in that pause, something shifted inside me. Because I knew, this was the fork in the road. Say yes, and slowly open a new chapter. Say no, and acknowledge that my heart was still tied somewhere else. "I had a good time," I said, "but I should probably be honest." She raised an eyebrow. "I'm still emotionally involved with someone," I continued. "We're not officially together right now, but it matters. And I don't want to blur that." Maya studied me for a moment, then smiled softly. "Then she's lucky." I shook my head. "It's more complicated than that." "It always is," she replied. No awkwardness, no disappointment, just understanding. We hugged goodbye, and she left. I walked back to my car feeling clear. Not excited, not conflicted, clear, because I realized something powerful. I wasn't looking for someone new. I was rediscovering myself, and there's a huge difference. That evening, my phone buzzed. Her name. I picked up. "Hey," I said. Her voice sounded softer than usual. "Hey, what did you do today?" Simple question. Normal. But this time, I answered honestly. "Met an old friend for coffee." A pause. Not long, but noticeable. "Oh," she said. "Who?" "Maya. From college." Silence. Then another pause. Then I heard her inhale. "Your ex." I didn't dodge it. Yeah. The quiet on the line got heavier. Not explosive. Not angry. Just real. "Did you tell me this to make me jealous?" She asked quietly. "No," I said. "I told you because I don't want secrets between us." More silence. Then she said something that changed everything. "I get it now." Her voice cracked slightly. "I get how easy it is." I didn't respond. I didn't need to, because she was connecting the dots herself. The attention, the lightness, the feeling of being someone new again, she continued. "It's not about the person. It's about the escape." Exactly. And hearing her say it, it closed a gap between us. Not as a couple, but as two people finally understanding the same truth. "I didn't do anything," I added gently. "And I won't, not while I still care about you." Her breathing shook. "I believe you." Then she whispered, "And I hate that I finally understand this from your side. Because empathy often arrives through experience, not explanation." And now, the emotional balance between us had shifted completely. She wasn't the one unsure anymore. I was, and she felt it, every second of it. "I don't want to lose you," she said again. But this time, it sounded different, not fear-driven, not reactive, grounded, real, and for the first time, I believed she meant it. After that call, something between us shifted again. But this time, it wasn't distance. It was understanding. For the first time since everything fell apart, we were standing on equal emotional ground. She understood how easy it is to drift. I understood how easy it is to reconnect with yourself outside a relationship. Neither of us was pretending anymore, and that made things real. A few days passed. We texted here and there. Nothing heavy, nothing forced, just two people who cared about each other, moving carefully. Then Sunday night, my phone rang. Her name lit up the screen. I picked up. Hey, she sounded different, not anxious, not fragile, steady. Can I come over? She asked. My heart paused for a second. That was new. We hadn't been to each other's places since the night everything changed. Yeah, I said, you can. An hour later, she knocked. Same hoodie she used to steal from me. Hair tied back, no makeup, just her, real, comfortable, familiar. I opened the door, and for a moment, we just looked at each other. No words. 3 years of memories standing in silence. Then she stepped inside. My apartment hadn't changed much, but she noticed the small things. The gym bag near the couch. The stack of books on the table. The absence of the little habits that used to revolve around her. You've been taking care of yourself, she said softly. I've been trying. We sat on opposite ends of the couch. Not touching, not distant, just aware. I didn't come here to talk about us, she said. That surprised me. Then why did you come? I asked. She took a deep breath. My therapist asked me a question this week, she said. And I couldn't stop thinking about it. I listened. She asked me, are you afraid of commitment, or are you afraid of losing control? I leaned back slightly. That was a heavy question. And, I asked. Her eyes met mine. I think I'm afraid of losing control. She continued before I could respond. With you, things felt certain. Stable, like my life had a direction. And instead of feeling safe, I felt trapped by my own expectations. I nodded slowly. That makes sense. And when I talked to that guy at work, it wasn't about him. It was about feeling like I could still choose. Like I wasn't locked into one path. There it was again. Choice. Not escape. Not betrayal. Autonomy. I thought asking for space would help me feel in control again, she said. But instead, it made me realize something worse. What? I asked quietly. That I could lose the one person who actually chose me every day. The room went silent, not tense, just honest. I took you for granted, she admitted. Not your love, your consistency. I assumed you'd always be there, no matter how unsure I was. I didn't interrupt, because she needed to say this without me softening it. And when you stepped back, she continued, voice shaking slightly, I had to face what life actually felt like without you. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't look away. It wasn't freedom, it was loss. That sentence hit differently, because it wasn't about needing me. It was about recognizing value. And there's a difference. I don't want to control my life by running away from commitment, she said. I want to choose things and stay when they get real. Even when I'm scared. I watched her carefully, not judging, not analyzing, just seeing her. This wasn't the girl panicking in my car weeks ago. This was someone confronting herself. And that mattered a lot. I'm not here to ask you to get back together tonight, she added. I'm here because I needed you to know that I finally understand what I almost lost. I swallowed, because part of me wanted to pull her close right then. Tell her it was okay. Tell her we'd be fine. But I didn't, because growth needs space to breathe, and rushing back would suffocate it. I appreciate you telling me, I said. She nodded, then looked around the apartment again. This place feels different, she said. It is. How? I thought about it. It doesn't revolve around us anymore. It revolves around me. She smiled slightly. That's a good thing. It is. A quiet moment passed, comfortable. Then she asked, can I ask you something honest? Always. She hesitated. Then, when you met your ex, did you feel something? The question was direct, brave, and deserved honesty. I felt how easy it was, I said. No history, no pressure, just light. Her jaw tightened slightly, but she kept listening, and that scared me, I added. Because I finally understood what you felt at work. Not attraction, relief. Her eyes softened. Exactly. But I also realized something else, I continued. What? I didn't want easy. I wanted real, and real is heavier, but it means more. Tears slid down her cheek. She wiped them quickly. I don't deserve you, she whispered. I shook my head immediately. That's not how this works. This isn't about deserving, it's about choosing. She looked at me like that word had weight now. Choosing, not assuming, not expecting, choosing. Every day, I choose you, she said quietly. Not dramatic, not desperate, just steady. And this time, it didn't feel like fear talking. It felt like clarity. My chest tightened, because I still loved her. That hadn't changed. What changed was how aware I was of myself now. Of my worth, of my boundaries, of my ability to walk away if I had to. And that made the moment heavier. More real. Because now, if I chose her, It would be intentional, not automatic. I'm not ready to jump back into being us overnight, I said. She nodded immediately. I don't want that either. I need to trust that this version of you stays, I continued. I will work every day to make sure it does. Not a promise, a commitment. There's a difference. We sat in silence after that. Then something small happened. She leaned her head against my shoulder. Slowly, carefully, like she was asking permission without words. I didn't move away, didn't pull her closer either. Just let the moment exist. And for the first time since everything broke, it didn't feel like we were trying to fix anything. It felt like we were building something new. Fragile, honest, uncertain, but real. Then she spoke again, softly. There's something else. I felt my chest tighten. What? She sat up straight, looked me directly in the eyes. My company offered me a position. A pause. In Chicago. Everything inside me went still. Chicago. Different city. Different life. Different future. I haven't accepted yet, she said quickly. I wanted to figure out us first. The room felt smaller suddenly. Because this wasn't emotional confusion anymore. This was a real-life decision. Distance, careers, direction, and love sitting in the middle of it all. What do you want? I asked quietly. She didn't answer immediately, because the truth wasn't simple. And for the first time, neither of us could pretend it would be. Chicago. The word stayed in the air long after she said it. Not loud, not dramatic, just heavy, real. A different city meant more than distance. It meant a new life, new routines, new people, new priorities. And suddenly, everything we've been talking about, love, growth, second chances, had a deadline attached to it. When did this happen? I asked. A week ago, she said. Right after everything with us blew up. That made sense. Life doesn't pause just because relationships do. They want an answer soon, she added quietly. Of course they did. Opportunities don't wait for emotional clarity. What kind of role is it? I asked. Promotion. Bigger team. More responsibility. I nodded. You deserve that. She gave a small, sad smile. That's what makes it harder. Silence settled between us. Not uncomfortable. Just full of thoughts neither of us had organized yet. I used to think I wanted something like this more than anything, she continued. A big move. A fresh start. A chance to prove myself. And now, I asked. She looked straight at me. Now I don't know what I'm supposed to be choosing. Career, love, independence, stability. No option felt wrong, and that was the problem. Because the hardest decisions aren't between right and wrong. They're between two things you both want. You shouldn't decide based on me, I said gently. She exhaled slowly. I knew you'd say that. Because it's true. If you stay for me, you'll resent it one day. And if you go and we're unfinished, that'll hurt too. Her eyes watered. So what's the right answer? I shook my head slightly. There isn't one. Just consequences. Trade-offs. Growth. That's adulthood. We sat quietly for a while. Then she asked something that shifted everything again. If I go, would you try long distance? The question was direct, raw, real, and it deserved honesty. I don't know, I said. Her face fell slightly, but she didn't look away. I'm not saying no, I added. I'm saying I won't promise something I'm not sure I can sustain. Because long distance isn't built on love alone. It's built on trust, consistency, emotional security, and we had just cracked those foundations weeks ago. That's fair, she said softly. And you, I asked, if you stay, will you feel like you gave up something important? She didn't answer immediately, which told me everything. Yes, she admitted finally. At least a little. Honesty again. Painful, but necessary. I don't want to be the reason you shrink your life, I said. And I don't want success to cost me the person I love, she replied. We looked at each other, both realizing the same thing. This wasn't just about fixing a relationship anymore. This was about building two lives that might not move in the same direction. I used to think love meant choosing each other no matter what, she said quietly. And now, I asked, now I think love means choosing each other, and choosing yourselves. That hit deep, because she was right. Sacrifice without growth turns into resentment. Independence without connection turns into loneliness. Balance is the hardest part. I don't want to lose you, she whispered. I swallowed. Then don't make this about losing me, I said. Make it about becoming who you're meant to be. If we're right for each other, we'll figure it out. Tears slid down her face. You make it sound so simple. It's not simple, I replied. It's just honest. She laughed weakly through tears. You've changed. So have you. And that was true. The old version of us would have handled this differently. She would have stayed out of fear. I would have begged her to. We would have convinced ourselves love meant holding on at any cost. Now, we were thinking bigger, harder, more painfully, about the long term. What do you want? She asked. Suddenly, the question caught me off guard. I want you to be certain about your life, I said. That's not what I asked. I hesitated, because answering honestly meant exposing something vulnerable. I want a partner who chooses me fully, I admitted. Not halfway, Not when it's convenient, not when they're scared of losing me. Her eyes filled again. I want that too, she whispered. Silence. Then I asked, if you take Chicago, are you running towards something, or away from us? The question landed heavily, because the answer mattered more than the decision itself. She thought for a long time, then said, I think I'd be running toward myself. That was the right answer. And also the hardest, because it meant her choice wasn't about us at all. It was about her growth. And love doesn't always stand in the way of growth. Sometimes it steps aside, even when it hurts. Then you should go, I said quietly. Her head snapped up. What? You should go, I repeated. Take the job, build your life, see who you become. Tears spilled instantly. You're saying that like goodbye. I'm saying it like someone who loves you enough not to hold you back. She started crying openly now. Not dramatic, not loud, just real, raw, human. I don't want this to be the end, she said. I felt my chest tighten. Neither do I. Then what are we supposed to do? I didn't have a perfect answer. But I had truth. We stop trying to control the outcome, I said. We support each other. We stay honest. And we see if our paths still meet. That's all love can do sometimes. Not promise. Not guarantee. Just continue. She leaned forward and hugged me tightly. This time, it wasn't careful. It wasn't hesitant. It was desperate, like she was trying to memorize the feeling. I held her just as tight. Because I was doing the same. 3 years of memories, love, growth, mistakes, forgiveness, all wrapped into one moment. Then she pulled back, eyes red, voice trembling. I'm scared. I know. So are you, she said. I nodded. Yeah, because loving someone means risking loss. Every time, no matter how strong you are. She stood up slowly, wiped her face. I'll give them my answer this week, she said. I nodded. No pressure, no persuasion, just respect. She walked to the door, paused, turned back. I love you, she said. The words hung in the air, not as a promise, not as a plea, just a truth. I love you too, I replied. And for the first time, it didn't feel like something we said out of habit. It felt earned. Then she left, and I stood there alone in my apartment, listening to the silence, knowing something important had just shifted again. Not an ending, not a beginning, a transition. And transitions are where the hardest choices are made. I didn't expect to see her again. Not like that, not in a place that used to belong to us. It was a Saturday afternoon in October, one of those crisp Chicago days where the air feels clean and the sun hits just right. I was at a small bookstore cafe downtown, a new habit I'd picked up. Quiet, warm, safe, predictable. I liked predictable now. I had a black coffee, a half-finished book, and a life that finally felt steady. And then I heard her laugh. Not loud, not dramatic, just familiar. My body reacted before my brain did. My chest tightened, my hands paused mid-page, and every nerve in my body lit up like someone had flipped a switch. I didn't turn immediately. Part of me didn't want to. Part of me knew that if I saw her, something inside me would shift again. But curiosity won. It always does. I looked up. Emily was standing near the counter, talking to the barista, smiling the same smile I'd memorized over 3 years. Her hair was shorter. Her posture was different. She looked older, in a way that had nothing to do with age. More grounded, less restless. She turned slightly, and her eyes landed on me. Everything stopped. Not metaphorically, actually stopped. The cafe noise faded. The page in my hands blurred. Time stretched into something thick and heavy. Her expression changed in stages. Recognition, shock, guilt, something softer. Then she smiled. Small, uncertain, real. And my heart didn't shatter. That's how I knew I'd healed. She walked over slowly, like she wasn't sure if she was allowed to. Hey, she said, just that, no drama, no tears, just, hey, I replied. My voice didn't shake. We stood there awkwardly for a second, two people who used to share everything suddenly unsure how to exist in the same space. Can I sit? She asked. I hesitated, not because I didn't want her there, but because I realized I finally had a choice. Before, I would have said yes instantly, out of habit, out of love, out of fear of losing her again. Now, I actually thought about it, and then I nodded. Yeah, that's fine. She sat across from me, hands wrapped around her coffee like she needed something to hold onto. You look good, she said. You too. Silence again, but it wasn't painful, just unfamiliar. How have you been? She asked. Good, I said honestly. Busy. Work's been intense. Started writing more. Therapy helped. She nodded slowly, like each word mattered. I'm glad, she said. I really am. And you? She exhaled. Messy, she admitted. At first, really messy. I didn't interrupt. I thought taking a step back would give me clarity, she continued. Instead, it showed me how much I depended on you to feel stable. And when you were gone, I had to figure out who I was without you. She gave a small, self-aware smile. Turns out I didn't know. I believed her, not because of what she said, But because of how she said it. No excuses, no manipulation, just truth. I moved, she added. New apartment, different neighborhood, started seeing a therapist too. That's good, I said. Yeah, it was, overdue. Another pause. She looked down at the table, fingers tracing the rim of her cup. I dated, she said quietly. My chest tightened slightly, a reflex, not pain. And, I asked. It didn't feel right, she admitted. Not because I was comparing them to you, but because I realized I wasn't ready to build anything with anyone. She finally looked up at me. I had to learn how to stand on my own first. There it was. Growth. Real growth. Not the kind people post about. The kind that's uncomfortable and slow and lonely. I'm proud of you, I said. And I meant it. Her eyes softened. That means more than you think. We sat there, two people who used to be everything to each other, now, something else. Not strangers, not lovers, not enemies, just people who shared history. Do you hate me? She asked suddenly. The question hung in the air. No, I said, I don't. Did you? Yeah, I admitted. For a while, she nodded, accepting it. I hated you for how it ended, I continued. For the confusion, for making me feel disposable after 3 years. Her eyes filled, but she didn't interrupt. But I don't hate you anymore, I said. Because I realized, we were both just trying to survive ourselves. A tear slipped down her cheek. I never wanted to hurt you, she whispered. I know, and when you said you were done, she continued, voice cracking, it felt like the ground disappeared. I thought you'd wait, I thought you'd understand what I meant. I did understand, I said gently. You needed space, and you gave me silence. Because I needed peace. That landed, she nodded slowly. Fair, she said. Another quiet moment. Then she asked the question I knew was coming. Are you seeing someone? I hesitated. Not seriously, I said. I've gone on a few dates. Nothing that stuck. She nodded, processing that. I'm not either, she said. And for the first time, the air shifted. Not romantic, not tense, just open. What are we now? She asked softly. It wasn't a plea, it was a genuine question. And I realized, I'd never thought about it. Because for months, my answer had been simple. We were over. But now, we were sitting across from each other, calm, honest, healed in ways we hadn't been before. I think, I said slowly, we're two people who loved each other, and grew up. She smiled faintly. Yeah, she said, that sounds right. We didn't rush the moment. We didn't try to define everything. We just sat there, talking about life, work, therapy, books, random things. It felt normal, comfortable, safe, and dangerous in a completely different way. Because this time, we weren't running on emotion. We were thinking, choosing, being intentional. After an hour, she checked her phone. I should go, she said. I promised my sister I'd help her move. I nodded. We stood. There was that awkward moment again. The one where you don't know if you hug, or wave, or walk away. She opened her arms first. I hugged her. It wasn't desperate. It wasn't clinging. It was warm, familiar, and final in a way that didn't hurt. Take care of yourself, she said. You too. She started to walk away. Then turned back. Hey, she said, I'm really glad you didn't wait. I frowned slightly. What? She smiled softly. You choosing yourself forced me to choose myself too. And with that, she left. I watched her walk out of the cafe, sunlight hitting her as the door closed behind her. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel loss. I felt closure. Real closure. Not the kind that comes from dramatic endings, but the kind that comes from understanding, from growth, from time. I sat back down, picked up my book, and took a sip of my coffee. Life moved. Cars outside, people talking, pages turning, and somewhere in the middle of all that noise, I realized something. Sometimes love doesn't fail. Sometimes it finishes its job. It teaches you, breaks you, builds you, and then lets you go so you can become someone new. Emily and I didn't end because we didn't care. We ended because we finally learned how to care for ourselves. And maybe, that was always the lesson waiting at the end of those 3 years. Not how to stay, but how to walk away, and still wish each other well. I took several steps back to zero. And in doing that, I finally found solid ground.